Billionaire single dad needs help picking a gift. Falls in love with the woman who showed him how to live again. What happens when a grieving billionaire walks into a small toy store on Christmas Eve, desperate to find the perfect gift for the daughter he barely knows how to connect with anymore, and meets a woman who sees right through his wealth to the broken man underneath? Welcome back to another story that'll make you believe in second chances and the healing power of love. And if you're new here, welcome. You're about to witness a romance so tender, so real, that you'll be thinking about it long after it ends. Before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Are you team love heals all wounds, or team some hearts are too broken to fix? Let me know. And to my amazing returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now grab your tissues, get comfortable, and let's get into this story. Because tonight, in a small Charleston toy store decorated with twinkling lights and hope, two broken hearts are about to discover that sometimes the best gifts can't be wrapped in paper and bows. The little bell above the door of Wonderland Toys chimed softly, and Imani Brooks looked up from the train set she was arranging to see a man who clearly didn't belong there. Everything about him screamed money. The charcoal wool coat that probably cost more than her monthly rent. The way he stood in the doorway like he was considering whether to enter or flee. The exhaustion carved into his handsome face, the kind that came from sleepless nights and a soul that had forgotten how to rest. He was tall, maybe 6'1", with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it all day. Mid-30s, she guessed. Wedding ring recently removed, if the slight tan line on his left hand was any indication. And those eyes, stormy gray, filled with a desperation that made her chest ache. "We close in 15 minutes, Imani said gently, not unkindly. It was Christmas Eve, and she'd been on her feet for 12 hours straight. But something about this man made her want to help. "I know. I'm sorry." His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it much lately. I need help finding a gift. For my daughter. She's 7, and I have no idea what 7-year-old girls want anymore. That one word told Imani everything. This wasn't a busy dad who'd forgotten to shop. This was a man who'd lost his way somehow. "Well, you came to the right place." She smiled, setting down the tiny train car she'd been holding. "I'm Imani. Let's find your daughter something special." Relief flooded his features. Thatcher Langford. The name meant nothing to her, but the way he said it, like he was used to people recognizing it, told her he was somebody. Somebody rich. Somebody important. Somebody very, very alone. "So tell me about her," Imani said, walking toward the doll section. "What does she like?" Thatcher followed, his expensive shoes silent on the worn wooden floors. "She used to love art. Drawing, painting. She'd spend hours creating these elaborate fantasy worlds." His voice caught. "But I haven't seen her draw in almost 2 years." 2 years. Imani's heart cracked a little. What happened 2 years ago? Her mother died. The words came out flat, emotionless. But Imani saw his hands clench at his sides. "Car accident. 1 minute we were a family, the next." "I'm so sorry." Imani stopped walking and turned to face him. Really face him. I can't imagine." Thatcher's jaw tightened. "Neither could I. Still can't most days." He looked away, toward the Christmas lights strung across the window. "Ava, my daughter. She used to be this bright, happy kid. Now she's quiet. Withdrawn. I don't know how to reach her anymore." Imani's throat tightened. She was 34 years old, and she'd seen plenty of broken people walk through this store over the years. Kids who needed comfort. Parents who needed hope. But something about Thatcher Langford's grief felt different. "Raw. Honest. Art," she said softly. "You said she used to love art?" "She hasn't touched her supplies since the funeral. Maybe she just needs the right inspiration." Imani moved to a different section of the store, toward a display she'd set up last week. What if you didn't just give her supplies? What if you gave her an experience? She picked up a beautiful wooden art box, hand-carved with intricate designs. Inside were professional-grade watercolors, brushes of every size, and thick paper that could handle any medium. This is gorgeous, but it's more than that. Imani opened the box to show him. See this card? It comes with a 6-month membership to the Children's Art Museum downtown. Classes every Saturday. A place where she can create with other kids who love art as much as she does. Thatcher stared at the box like she'd just handed him the moon. You're not just giving her art supplies, Imani continued, warming to her subject. You're giving her permission to be creative again. To feel joy again. And bonus, you'd be taking the classes with her. 2 hours every Saturday where you're both learning something new together. I can't paint, Thatcher said, but there was something in his voice. Hope, maybe. Or hunger for connection with his daughter. Neither can I, really. Imani grinned. But that's not the point. The point is showing up. Being present. Letting her see you try, even if you fail. Kids don't need perfect parents. They need present ones. Thatcher's eyes met hers, and for the first time since he'd walked in, Imani saw something besides exhaustion there. Something that made her pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with closing time and everything to do with the way he was looking at her, like she'd just said exactly what he needed to hear. You're right. His voice was rough. God, you're absolutely right. I'm always right, Imani teased, trying to lighten the moment because the air between them suddenly felt charged. Comes with the territory of working retail for 10 years. You develop a sixth sense about what people need. And what do I need? The question came out before he could stop it. Imani tilted her head, studying him. This beautiful, broken man with his expensive coat and his wounded eyes and his desperate love for a daughter he didn't know how to reach anymore. Permission to be human again, she said quietly. Permission to grieve and heal at the same time. Permission to admit you don't have all the answers. Thatcher's breath caught. How did you? I see people, Imani interrupted gently. Really see them. And Thatcher Langford, you look like a man who's been holding the world together for everyone else while falling apart inside. The silence stretched between them, heavy with understanding and something neither was ready to name. I'll take it, Thatcher said finally. The art box. The classes. All of it. Good choice. Imani carried the box to the register, acutely aware of him following close behind. Ava's going to love it. I hope so. He pulled out a black credit card, the kind with no spending limit. I hope it helps. As Imani rang up the purchase, she found herself doing something she never did with customers. You know, the first class is this Saturday. 2 o'clock. If you want, I could stop by. Make sure Ava settles in okay. Sometimes having a friendly face helps. Why did she say that? She didn't make house calls. She didn't get involved in customers' lives. She especially didn't offer to visit strange men's homes, no matter how sad their stories. But Thatcher's face transformed. Not quite a smile, but close. You'd do that. I would. Imani wrote her phone number on the receipt. Text me your address. I'll bring some extra supplies, just in case. Thatcher took the receipt like it was precious. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. Maybe I do. Imani handed him the beautifully wrapped box. Merry Christmas, Thatcher. Merry Christmas, Imani. He left, the bell chiming softly behind him, and Imani stood there in her small store filled with toys and dreams and possibilities, wondering what the hell she'd just done. And why her heart was racing like she'd just made the most important decision of her life. Saturday arrived with cold sunshine and the kind of crisp winter air that made Charleston feel magical. Imani stood outside the address Thatcher had texted her, staring up at what could only be described as a mansion. Of course he lived here. In the historic district, where houses cost millions and history dripped from every brick and wrought iron gate. The three-story home was beautiful, pale yellow with white columns, a wraparound porch, and gardens that probably required a full-time staff. Imani looked down at her own outfit, jeans, a warm sweater, boots she'd owned for 5 years, and almost turned around. What was she doing here? This man was clearly wealthy beyond anything she could imagine. He probably had assistants and nannies and people whose entire job was making sure his daughter had everything she needed. He didn't need a toy store clerk showing up to. The front door opened. "You came." Thatcher stood there in jeans and a navy sweater, and somehow he looked even better than he had in his expensive coat. More real. More human. "I said I would." Imani climbed the steps, clutching her bag of art supplies. How'd she react to the gift? Thatcher's expression was complicated. She cried. I wasn't sure if that was good or bad at first, but then she hugged me. Really hugged me. First time in months. His voice went rough. "So thank you. For knowing exactly what she needed. I'm glad it helped." Imani followed him inside, and tried not to gawk at the soaring ceilings, the original hardwood floors, the art on the walls that might have been actual originals. "Ava's in the kitchen," Thatcher said. "Fair warning, she's nervous. Excited, but nervous. She hasn't been around many new people since." "I understand." Imani touched his arm gently. "Let her come to me. I won't push." The kitchen was enormous, all white marble and stainless steel, with windows overlooking a garden that must be spectacular in spring. And at the island, sitting on a stool that was almost too tall for her, was a little girl with dark curly hair and her father's gray eyes. Ava Langford was small for 7, delicate, with an old soul shining from her face. She wore leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, and she was clutching the art box like it was a lifeline. "Hi, Ava," Imani said softly. "I'm Imani. I helped your dad pick out that art box." Ava studied her with serious eyes. "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." "Then you have excellent taste." Imani pulled out a stool and sat down, careful to keep some distance. "Your dad tells me you're an artist." "I used to be." Ava's voice was barely above a whisper. Before her mother died. Before her world shattered. Before everything changed. "I believe once an artist, always an artist," Imani said. "Sometimes we just need a little time to remember how." "Do you paint?" Ava asked. "Not well. But I try. And trying is what matters, right?" Ava considered this, then nodded slowly. "Will you paint with me? Before the class?" Imani's heart melted. "I would love to." They spent the next hour at the kitchen table, spreading out paper and paints, and Imani watched as Ava slowly, carefully began to create. At first her movements were tentative, uncertain. But as the colors bloomed on the page, something in the little girl's face began to soften. Thatcher stood by the counter, pretending to make coffee but really just watching. And when Imani glanced up and caught his eye, the gratitude there nearly undid her. "Your mama would be proud," Imani said softly to Ava. "This is beautiful." Ava's brush stilled. "You think so?" "I know so. Mama used to paint with me." Ava's voice was small. "Every Sunday afternoon. She said art was how we made sense of the world." "Your mama sounds like she was very wise." "She was." Ava looked up at Imani with those serious gray eyes. "Daddy doesn't paint. He says he's not creative. Maybe he just needs someone to teach him." Imani smiled. "What do you say, Thatcher? Want to join us?" Thatcher looked terrified. "I'll ruin it." "There's no ruining art," Ava said, suddenly animated. "Mama always said mistakes are just happy accidents." "Your mama was definitely wise." Thatcher came to the table, sitting down across from them. "Okay, teach me." What happened next was magic. Pure, simple magic. Ava showed her father how to hold the brush, how to mix colors, how to let go of perfection and just feel. And Thatcher, this serious, wealthy, grieving man, tried. Really tried. His painting was terrible. Objectively awful. Colors muddied together, shapes went wrong, nothing looked like anything identifiable. But Ava laughed. Really laughed. The sound filled the enormous kitchen like bells, and Thatcher's eyes filled with tears. He quickly blinked away. See. Ava giggled. Happy accidents. The happiest, Thatcher agreed, his voice thick. Imani watched them, this broken little family finding their way back to each other one brushstroke at a time, and felt something shift in her chest. Something dangerous. Something that felt suspiciously like her carefully guarded heart beginning to open. She'd come here thinking she was helping a customer. But looking at Thatcher's face as he painted with his daughter, really painted, really tried, really showed up, Imani realized she might be the one who'd just received the gift. The gift of witnessing love in its purest form. A father who would try anything, even fail spectacularly at art, if it meant connecting with his child. And when Thatcher looked up and met her eyes over Ava's head, the thank you written in his expression, Imani knew she was in trouble. Because this was supposed to be a one-time thing. Help a customer. Make sure a little girl was okay. Go back to her normal life. But nothing about this felt normal. Nothing about the way Thatcher looked at her felt simple. And nothing about the way her heart was racing suggested she'd be walking away from this unscathed. The art class was held in a bright, airy studio at the Charleston Children's Museum, and Imani shouldn't have been there. She'd done her good deed. Made sure Ava was comfortable. She should go home, back to her small apartment above the bookstore, back to her quiet life. Instead, she found herself sitting at a table with Thatcher and Ava, surrounded by other parents and children, all of them ready to create. I can't believe you stayed, Thatcher murmured as the instructor introduced herself. I can't either, Imani admitted. I have a million things to do today. But Ava asked me to stay. And I have a hard time saying no to 7-year-olds with hopeful eyes. Thatcher's lips quirked. Not quite a smile, but close. Join the club. The class was perfect. The instructor, a woman named Celeste with paint-stained overalls and an infectious enthusiasm, taught them about winter landscapes. How to capture the feeling of cold without using blue. How to show warmth in the midst of frost. Ava threw herself into it with a focus that was beautiful to watch. Her small hands moved confidently across the paper, creating a world of silver trees and golden sunlight. Thatcher tried. He really did. But his painting looked like a child's, and not in a charming way. I'm terrible at this, he whispered to Imani. You're learning. That's different. How's yours? Imani turned her paper so he could see. Her landscape wasn't perfect, but it had something. Warmth. Feeling. A sense of peace she'd been trying to capture in her own life for years. That's beautiful, Thatcher said, and there was something in his voice. Oh, maybe. Or longing. Thank you. You're really talented. I'm really patient. Imani corrected. There's a difference. Talent is born. Patience is earned through years of practice and not giving up when things get hard. Is that your philosophy for everything? Pretty much. Imani added a touch of gold to her son. Life's hard. Art's hard. Love's hard. The key is not giving up when things get messy. Love, Thatcher repeated quietly. You think love requires patience? I think love requires everything. Imani glanced at him. Patience, courage, honesty, vulnerability. The willingness to show up even when you're scared. Especially when you're scared. Sounds exhausting. It is. Imani smiled. It's also worth it. When you find the right person. Have you found the right person? The question hung between them, loaded with something neither wanted to examine too closely. Not yet, Imani said finally. But I'm hopeful. I believe there's someone out there for everyone. Even people like me. People like you? Normal people. People who work retail and live in small apartments and can't afford the kind of life you probably live. She said it without bitterness. Just fact. Thatcher was quiet for a long moment. Money doesn't buy happiness. No. But it buys security. Options. The ability to take risks without worrying about paying rent. Is that what you want? Security. I want peace. Imani met his eyes. I want to wake up without anxiety clawing at my chest. I want to create art for the joy of it, not because I'm hoping to sell something. I want simple happiness. The kind that doesn't cost anything but means everything. That sounds nice. It does, doesn't it? Imani returned to her painting. What do you want, Thatcher? He didn't answer right away. The sounds of the class continued around them. Children laughing, parents encouraging, brushes swishing through water. Finally, so quietly she almost didn't hear, I want to feel alive again. I've been going through the motions for 2 years. Work, Ava, sleep. Work, Ava, sleep. Existing but not living. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the emptiness. Imani's throat tightened. You're a good father. That counts for something. Is it enough though? I provide for her. I keep her safe. But do I make her happy? Do I teach her that life is worth living, even when it hurts? You brought her here, Imani pointed out. You're trying. That matters. Only because you helped me see what she needed. Thatcher's eyes were intense. You walked into my life for 15 minutes and saw more clearly than I had in 2 years. How? Sometimes it takes an outsider to see what's really there. Then tell me what you see when you look at me. The question was dangerous. Intimate. The kind that could change everything. Imani set down her brush and turned to face him fully. Around them, the class continued, but it felt like they were in a bubble. Just the two of them. I see a man who's been drowning, she said softly. A man who built walls so high he forgot what sunshine felt like. A man who loves his daughter so fiercely he's terrified of failing her. A man who's forgotten how to be just Thatcher, not a father, not a businessman, not a widower. Just a man. Thatcher's breath hitched. I see someone who needs permission to live again, Imani continued. Who needs to know that being happy doesn't mean forgetting. That moving forward doesn't mean leaving behind. That it's okay to want more than just survival. And if I do want more? His voice was rough. What then? Then you reach for it. Imani's heart was pounding. You take the risk. You let yourself be vulnerable. You try. What if I fail? Then you try again. What if I drag you into my mess? There it was. The real question. The acknowledgement that something was happening between them. Something neither had planned. Something that scared them both. Maybe I need a little mess in my life, Imani said. Maybe I've been playing it too safe. Maybe we both have. Thatcher opened his mouth to respond, but Ava's voice interrupted. Daddy, look. I finished. The moment shattered, but the electricity remained. Thatcher turned to admire Ava's painting, and Imani took a shaky breath, trying to calm her racing heart. What was she doing? She'd just met this man 3 days ago. He was a widower, a father, clearly wealthy and complicated, and carrying more baggage than she knew what to do with. She should walk away, thank him for the interesting afternoon and return to her simple, safe life. But when the class ended and Thatcher asked, "Would you like to get coffee?" All 3 of us. The yes came out before Imani could stop it. Because for the first time in her 34 years, simple and safe felt like surrender. And Thatcher Langford, with his storm-cloud eyes and his broken heart and his desperate hope, felt like possibility. Dangerous, terrifying, beautiful possibility. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner at a small cafe near the museum, where Ava ordered mac and cheese and hot chocolate, and the adults pretended they were just 3 people sharing a meal, not 2 broken hearts circling each other carefully. Tell me about the toy store, Thatcher said after they'd ordered. Ava was coloring on the paper menu, content in her own world. You said you've worked there 10 years? Almost 11 now. Imani wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Started when I was 23, fresh out of art school with a degree and no prospects. Mr. Chen, he owned Wonderland Toys. He hired me even though I had zero retail experience. Said I had a gift for understanding what people needed. He was right. He was a good man. Imani's smile was sad. He died 3 years ago. Left the store to his daughter, but she lives in California. Doesn't want to run it. So I manage it, keep it going, hope she doesn't decide to sell. You love it. I do. It's not glamorous, and I'm not getting rich, but there's something special about helping parents find the perfect gift for their kids. About seeing a child's face light up. About being part of someone's happy memory. Like you were part of mine, Thatcher said quietly. Their eyes met, held. The air between them crackled with awareness neither could deny anymore. Can I have more hot chocolate? Ava asked, breaking the moment. Sure, sweetheart. Thatcher signaled the waitress, then turned back to Imani. What about your art? Do you still create? Sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep. Weekends when the store's closed. Imani shrugged. It's different than I imagined when I was in school. Back then, I thought I'd have gallery shows, exhibitions, maybe even teach. But life happened. What kind of life? The normal kind. Bills, responsibilities, a mother who needed help. Imani's expression softened. My ma, she raised me alone. Worked 3 jobs to get me through school. And when she got sick 5 years ago, it was my turn to take care of her. Is she? She's okay now. Diabetes, but manageable. She lives with my aunt in Colombia. I visit every other weekend. Imani smiled. She keeps asking when I'm going to find a nice man and settle down. And what do you tell her? That I'm waiting for someone who sees me. Really sees me. Not just the girl who works in a toy store, but the woman who still dreams. Who still hopes. Who still believes in magic even though life's taught her to be practical. Thatcher's gaze was intense. I see you. The words were simple, but the weight behind them was enormous. You don't even know me, Imani whispered. Maybe not. But I want to. Thatcher leaned forward. These past 3 days, you've shown up for me and Ava in a way no one has in 2 years. You've been kind without wanting anything in return. You've been honest when I needed truth. You've been exactly what we needed without us even asking. Thatcher. I know this is fast. I know we just met. I know you probably think I'm just some grieving widower looking for someone to fill a void. His voice was rough with emotion. But that's not what this is. You make me want to be more than just surviving. You make me remember what hope feels like. Imani's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. I scare myself when I'm around you. Why? Because I want things I have no right wanting. Because you're this complicated man with a daughter and a past and probably a life I can't even imagine. Because 3 days ago I didn't know you existed, and now I can't stop thinking about you. The confession hung between them, raw and vulnerable. Daddy, Ava said, and they both jumped. Can Imani come to our house tomorrow? We could paint again. Thatcher looked at Imani, and the question in his eyes was clear. Was she willing to step into this? Into his mess, his grief, his complicated life? Every rational part of Imani's brain screamed no. She barely knew him. He was clearly wealthy in ways that made her uncomfortable. He had a child who'd already lost one mother figure. What happened if Imani got attached and this didn't work out? But the part of her that had been sleepwalking through life for years, the part that had stopped dreaming of anything beyond survival, the part that recognized something real and rare when she saw it, that part whispered yes. I'd love to, Imani heard herself say. What time? Ava's smile was like sunshine breaking through clouds. And Thatcher's expression, grateful, hopeful, terrified, matched exactly what Imani felt in her own chest. They were doing this. Whatever this was. Two broken people and a little girl who needed both of them. Taking a chance. Risking everything. Hoping that maybe, just maybe, they could build something beautiful from all their broken pieces. 2 weeks passed in a blur of art sessions and coffee dates and tentative steps toward something neither Imani nor Thatcher wanted to name yet, but both felt growing stronger every day. Imani learned that Thatcher had built his wealth in tech, some kind of software company that did something complicated she didn't fully understand, but that apparently made him extremely wealthy. He'd sold the company a year after his wife died, unable to focus on work while drowning in grief. Now he did consulting. Advised other startups. Made more money in a month than Imani saw in a year. But he wore his wealth lightly, like clothes he'd forgotten he was wearing. She learned that his late wife, Catherine, had been a pediatric surgeon. Brilliant, driven, beautiful. They'd met in college, married young, built a life together that looked perfect from the outside. But it wasn't perfect, Thatcher told her one afternoon while Ava was at school and they'd met for lunch. We were happy, but we were also busy. Too busy. Always promising we'd slow down someday, travel more, be more present. And then someday never came. You can't blame yourself for not knowing, Imani said gently. Can't I? I was so focused on building the business, proving I could succeed, that I missed years of just being with them. And now I can't get that time back. Imani reached across the table and took his hand. But you have now. You have Ava, and you're showing up for her. That's what matters. Thatcher turned his hand over, lacing their fingers together. I have you too. However unexpected that is. Very unexpected. But Imani didn't let go. I'm still not sure this is real. What part? All of it. You. This. The way you look at me like I'm something precious. You are precious. Thatcher's thumb traced circles on her palm. You're the first person in 2 years who's made me want to try again. Want to feel again. Want to believe life can be more than just going through the motions. I want that too, Imani admitted. But I'm scared. Of what? Of not being enough. Of this world you live in that's so different from mine. Of falling for you and Ava and then having it all disappear. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Of being another loss in her life if this doesn't work out. Imani. Thatcher squeezed her hand. I'm scared too. Terrified, actually. I haven't looked at another woman since Catherine died. Haven't wanted to. And then you walked into my life with your kindness and your insight and your ability to see exactly what we needed, and suddenly I'm feeling things I thought I'd buried forever. What are you feeling? Hope. Desire. The terrifying possibility that maybe I get a second chance at happiness. He met her eyes. The absolutely certain knowledge that you're someone special, and I'd be a fool to let you walk away. Imani's breath caught. Thatcher. I'm not asking for promises. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm just asking you to keep showing up. Keep trying. Keep letting this thing between us grow and see where it goes. And if it goes somewhere scary, then we figure it out together. Together. Such a simple word. Such an enormous concept. Imani thought about her small life. Her quiet existence. The safety she'd built around her heart after watching her mother struggle, after her own failed relationships in her 20s, after learning that hoping for too much usually led to disappointment. But looking at Thatcher, this good man who'd been shattered by loss and was somehow finding the courage to try again, she realized safety wasn't the same as living. Okay, she said. Together. Thatcher's smile transformed his face. Made him look younger, lighter, like the weight he'd been carrying had shifted just slightly. He brought her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles softly. The gesture was old-fashioned, romantic, and it sent heat racing through Imani's body. Thank you, he murmured against her skin. For what? For seeing me. For not running. For being brave enough to take a chance on something messy and complicated and probably terrifying. Well, Imani said, trying to calm her racing heart. I've always been better at taking risks on other people's behalf than my own. Maybe it's time I practiced what I preach. About not giving up when things get hard? Exactly. They sat there in the quiet cafe, hands joined, both of them aware they'd just crossed some invisible line. This wasn't just friendship anymore. This wasn't just helping a widower and his daughter. This was the beginning of something real. Something that could heal them both or break them completely. And they were choosing it anyway. The first kiss happened 3 weeks after they met, on a cold January evening that smelled like jasmine and possibility. Imani had come over for dinner, something that had become a regular occurrence. She'd cook with Thatcher while Ava did homework at the kitchen table, and they'd eat together like a family, like this was normal, like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. Tonight, Ava had gone to bed early, exhausted from a playdate. And Imani should have left. Should have said goodnight and gone back to her apartment where everything was simple and safe and didn't involve falling for a man she barely knew but somehow understood completely. Instead, she was standing on Thatcher's back porch, wrapped in one of his jackets because she'd forgotten hers, looking out at his garden lit by moonlight. "It's beautiful," she said when he joined her. "The garden. Catherine planted most of it." Thatcher stood close enough that she could feel his warmth. She loved gardening. Said it kept her grounded when work got crazy. "Do you maintain it?" "I have a landscaper. But I should probably learn. Ava's been asking to plant vegetables this spring." "That sounds perfect." Imani turned to face him. "She's doing better, you know. Ava. She's lighter. Happier." "I know. Because of you." "No. Because of you. Because you showed up. Because you took the risk of trying something new. I just pointed you in the right direction." "You did more than that." Thatcher's voice was rough. "You reminded me how to hope. How to feel. How to want something beyond just making it through another day." "Thatcher. I think about you all the time," he continued, the words spilling out like he couldn't hold them back anymore. "When you're here, I don't want you to leave. When you're gone, I'm counting the hours until I see you again. And I know it's fast, I know it's probably too much, but I can't help it." Imani's heart was racing. "I think about you too. Constantly. It's actually kind of annoying." He laughed, and the sound was beautiful. Real laughter, the kind that came from somewhere deep and genuine. "I want to kiss you," Thatcher said, his eyes searching hers. "I've wanted to for weeks. But I needed you to know it's not just physical attraction. It's not just loneliness. It's you. Everything about you. Then kiss me." He did. Thatcher's lips met hers softly at first, tentatively, like he was afraid she might break. But when Imani melted into him, when her hands came up to cup his face and she kissed him back with all the longing she'd been trying to suppress, something inside both of them ignited. The kiss deepened, turned hungry. 2 years of grief, loneliness, and fear poured into that kiss from Thatcher. 34 years of playing it safe, of protecting her heart, of waiting for someone who truly saw her poured into it from Imani. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Thatcher rested his forehead against hers. "That was..." "Yeah," Imani agreed. "It was. I'm falling for you." His voice was raw. "God help me, I'm falling so hard." "I'm falling too." Imani's hands trembled against his chest. "And it terrifies me." "Me too. But maybe that's how we know it's real." They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, and for the first time since Catherine's death, Thatcher let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, happiness wasn't something that only existed in his past. Maybe it could exist in his future too. With this incredible woman who'd walked into his life when he needed her most. Who saw through his wealth to the broken man underneath. Who loved his daughter without hesitation. Who made him want to be better, do better, try harder. "Stay," he whispered. "Just a little longer." So Imani stayed. They moved to the porch swing, wrapped in blankets, and talked about everything and nothing. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Imani told him about growing up with a single mother who worked herself to exhaustion. About art school and the dreams she'd had to set aside. About the toy store and the small joys of helping families find happiness. Thatcher told her about building his company from nothing. About the pressure and the success and the emptiness that came with having everything except what truly mattered. About Catherine and their life together, the good parts and the hard parts, because real relationships were never perfect. I don't want to replace her, Imani said carefully. For you or for Ava. That's not what this is. I know. And you're not replacing anyone. You're something entirely new. Something I didn't know I needed, but now can't imagine living without. That's a lot of pressure. Is it? Or is it just the truth? Imani didn't have an answer for that. So she kissed him again instead, and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Tried to focus on all the ways it already felt so right. The complication arrived in the form of Thatcher's mother-in-law. Diana Whitmore was elegant, composed, and clearly not pleased to find another woman in her daughter's kitchen on a Saturday morning. Imani was making pancakes with Ava when the front door opened without knocking. She looked up to see a woman in her early 60s, perfectly dressed in what was probably designer clothing, carrying a bag from some expensive boutique. Grandma! Ava ran to hug her, and the woman's face softened immediately. Hello, darling. Diana hugged her granddaughter, but her eyes were on Imani. Assessing. Judging. And who's this? This is Imani. Ava said excitedly. She's Daddy's friend. She's teaching us to paint, and she makes the best pancakes, and she's really nice. I'm sure she is. Diana's smile didn't reach her eyes. Where's your father, sweetheart? He's in his office. Ava tugged her grandmother's hand. Come see my paintings. As Ava dragged Diana toward the hallway where her artwork was displayed, the older woman looked back at Imani with an expression that clearly said, "We need to talk." Thatcher appeared minutes later, looking stressed. Imani, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Diana was coming over. It's fine. She's Ava's grandmother. Imani kept her voice light, but her stomach was churning. I should probably go. No. Please don't. Thatcher took her hand. She needs to meet you properly. You're part of Ava's life now. Part of my life. Thatcher, I don't think. Please. So Imani stayed, even though every instinct told her to run. Breakfast was tense. Diana asked pointed questions about Imani's job, her education, her family. Nothing overtly rude, but the subtext was clear. What makes you think you're good enough for my son-in-law? So you manage a toy store, Diana said, delicately cutting her pancake. That must be quaint. It's fulfilling, Imani replied evenly. I love helping families find joy. And you're an artist. I studied art in college, yes. But you don't sell your work. Not currently, no. Diana's expression said everything her words didn't. Ava, oblivious to the tension, chattered about the art classes, about the paintings she'd made, about how Imani had helped her remember how to be happy. It sounds like you've become quite close, Diana said, and there was something sharp in her tone. How long has this been going on? Diana, Thatcher warned. I'm just curious, dear. It's only been 2 years since Catherine passed. Some might think it's rather soon for someone new to be so integrated into Ava's life. The words hit like a slap. I should go, Imani said, standing abruptly. Ava, sweetie, I'll see you next week, okay? But you haven't finished your pancakes. I just remembered something I need to do. Imani kissed the top of Ava's head, avoided looking at Thatcher, and left before anyone could stop her. She made it to her car before the tears came. What was she doing? Diana was right. It had only been 2 years. Thatcher was wealthy, sophisticated, living in a world Imani could never truly belong to. And Ava, sweet Ava who was starting to rely on her, to love her. What happened when this inevitably fell apart? Her phone buzzed. Thatcher. I'm so sorry. Please let me explain. Imani didn't respond. Another text. Diana doesn't speak for me. She's grieving too, in her own way. But that doesn't make what she said okay. Then, please don't shut me out. We need to talk about this. Finally, I'm falling in love with you, Imani. And that's terrifying and messy and probably too fast, but it's true. Please don't let Diana's fear make you afraid too. Imani stared at that last message, her heart pounding. He was falling in love with her. He'd said it. Put it out there in black and white where she couldn't pretend she hadn't seen it, hadn't heard it, hadn't felt it herself. Because she was falling too. So hard and fast it scared her breathless. But Diana's words had planted seeds of doubt. Was this real? Or was Thatcher just desperate to fill the void Catherine had left? Was Imani special, or was she just convenient? There at the right time, willing to help, easy to fall for because she came without complications? Except she did have complications. A whole life's worth of them. And stepping into Thatcher's world meant facing judgment from people like Diana. People who would always see her as not quite good enough. Not wealthy enough. Not sophisticated enough. Not Catherine. Her phone buzzed again. Please. Imani closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and made a decision. We need to talk. But not today. I need some time to think. The response came immediately. I understand. But, Imani, don't think yourself out of this. Don't let fear win. Please. But fear had already won, Imani thought as she drove home. Because loving Thatcher Langford meant risking everything. Her heart. Her peace. The careful safety she'd built around herself. And she wasn't sure she was brave enough for that. 3 days passed before Imani answered Thatcher's calls. 3 days of him texting, leaving voicemails, showing up at the toy store only to have her ask him to leave. 3 days of Imani trying to convince herself that walking away was the right choice. The safe choice. The choice that would protect everyone, Thatcher, Ava, and especially herself. But on the 4th day, Ava showed up. Imani was closing the store when she saw the little girl outside, pressed against the window, breath fogging the glass. Ava! Imani rushed outside. Sweetheart, what are you doing here? Where's your father? I ran away. Ava's voice was small, scared. Well, not really. I told Mrs. Henderson I was going to play in the garden, but I came here instead. On my bike. Ava, that's dangerous. This is 5 blocks from your house. I know. But you wouldn't talk to Daddy, and he's sad again. Like before. Like when Mama died. Tears filled Ava's gray eyes. Did I do something wrong? Is that why you left? Imani's heart shattered. She knelt down, pulling Ava into a hug. Oh, baby. No. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing at all. Then why won't you come back? Don't you like us anymore? I like you very much. Too much, maybe. You can't like someone too much, Ava said with 7-year-old logic. That doesn't make sense. It does when you're an adult and scared. What are you scared of? Good question. What was she scared of? I'm scared of not being enough, Imani admitted. Of not belonging in your world. Of you and your daddy getting hurt because I'm not. I'm not what you need. But you are what we need. Ava pulled back, her small face serious. Daddy smiles when you're around. Real smiles, not the fake ones he does for other people. And I'm happy again. Like I used to be before everything got sad. Ava. My grandma said mean things, didn't she? That's why you left. She wasn't mean. She was just protective of you and your dad. She was mean, Ava insisted. She said you were trying to replace my mama. But you're not. You're just you. And I like you being you. Imani's vision blurred with tears. My mama would like you too, Ava continued. She always said life was about being brave enough to love people, even when it's scary. Even when it might hurt. Because love is worth it. Your mama sounds very wise. She was. And she'd want Daddy to be happy again. She'd want me to be happy. And we're happy with you. Out of the mouths of babes, Imani thought. All her adult fears and complications, and this 7-year-old had cut straight to the truth. Let's get you home, Imani said, standing. Your dad must be worried sick. Will you come too? Will you talk to him? Yes. I'll talk to him. They put Ava's bike in Imani's car and drove to the mansion. Thatcher was in the front yard, phone to his ear, panic written across his face. When he saw them pull up, relief and fear warred in his expression. Ava! He ran to the car, pulling his daughter into his arms. God, baby, you can't do that. You can't just leave without telling anyone. I had to get Imani back, Ava said simply. Thatcher looked over her head at Imani, and the raw emotion in his eyes nearly undid her. Thank you, he mouthed. Imani nodded, her throat too tight to speak. After Ava was safely inside with Mrs. Henderson, the nanny who'd been beside herself with worry, Thatcher and Imani stood in his garden, the same place they'd first kissed what felt like a lifetime ago. I'm sorry, they both said simultaneously. You first, Thatcher said. I'm sorry I ran. I'm sorry I shut you out. I'm sorry I let Diana's words get to me. Imani wrapped her arms around herself. But Thatcher, she wasn't entirely wrong. This is fast. Ava's already attached to me. What happens if we don't work out? What happens if we do? That's not an answer. Isn't it? Thatcher stepped closer. Imani, I can't promise we'll work out. I can't promise it won't be hard. I can't promise everyone will understand or approve. But I can promise that what I feel for you is real. That it's worth fighting for. That I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. Even if it means dealing with Diana's disapproval? Even if it means people judging you for moving on? Even if it means Ava getting hurt if I can't be what she needs? Even then, his voice was fierce. Because loving you, and yes, I love you, I'm completely in love with you. Loving you is worth every risk, every complication, every fear. Imani's breath caught. You love me. I love you, Thatcher repeated. I love how you see people. How you showed up for me and Ava when you had no reason to. How you're brave enough to be vulnerable, honest enough to share your fears, strong enough to walk away when you thought it was right. He took her hands. I love that you make me want to be better. That you remind me life is about more than just surviving. That you see me, really see me, and love me anyway. I do love you, Imani whispered. That's what makes this so scary. Then be scared with me. Let's be terrified together. But don't walk away. Please don't walk away. Imani looked at this man, this good, broken, beautiful man who'd somehow found the courage to love again after devastating loss. Who was willing to risk his heart, risk his daughter's heart, because he believed they were worth it. She thought about safety, about the walls she'd built, about all the reasons this was a bad idea. And then she thought about Ava's words, life was about being brave enough to love people, even when it's scary. Okay, Imani said. I'm staying. But Thatcher, we need to do this right. We need to take care of Ava's heart. We need to be honest about the challenges. We need to. He kissed her. Deeply, desperately, with everything he'd been holding back during those 3 days of silence. And Imani kissed him back, letting go of fear, choosing hope, choosing love, choosing this messy, complicated, beautiful thing they were building together. We'll figure it out, Thatcher murmured against her lips. Together. Together, Imani agreed. And for the first time in days, she believed it might actually be possible. A month into officially being together, really together, not just figuring things out, but committed, exclusive, building something real, Imani finally met Diana Whitmore properly. The older woman had requested a lunch. Just the two of them. No Thatcher, no Ava. Woman to woman. Imani had wanted to refuse. But Thatcher had asked her to go, to try, because Diana was Ava's grandmother and Catherine's mother, and she would always be part of their lives. So Imani found herself at an expensive restaurant in downtown Charleston, sitting across from a woman who looked at her like a problem to be solved. "Thank you for coming," Diana said once they'd ordered. Her tone was polite but cold. "I imagine you weren't eager to see me again after our last encounter." "I understand you're protective of your family," Imani said carefully. "I respect that." "Do you?" Diana set down her water glass. "Because from where I'm sitting, you've inserted yourself into my son-in-law's life rather quickly. Into my granddaughter's life. And I'm not sure your intentions are entirely altruistic." Imani's spine straightened. "I'm sorry. Let's be frank, Ms. Brooks. You work in retail. You live in a small apartment. You have no real prospects beyond managing a toy store." Diana's voice was cutting. "And suddenly you're dating a billionaire widower with a vulnerable child. Can you understand why that might raise questions? You think I'm with Thatcher for his money. Are you prepared to tell me you're not?" Fury rose in Imani's chest, hot and righteous. But she forced herself to stay calm, to speak with dignity. "I didn't even know who Thatcher was when I met him," she said evenly. "I helped him pick out a gift for his daughter because that's my job. Because I saw a man who was desperate to connect with his child and I wanted to help. Everything that came after, the friendship, the relationship, that happened organically. Perhaps. But you're still here, aren't you? Still dating him. Still benefiting from his wealth, his home, his life." "I don't benefit from his wealth. I pay for my own meals when we go out. I still work at the toy store. I still live in my own apartment. I'm not trying to take anything from Thatcher. Except his heart. And his daughter's heart." Diana leaned forward. "Do you have any idea what it did to Ava when Catherine died? How broken she was. How long it took for her to stop asking when Mommy was coming home." Imani's eyes filled with tears. "I can only imagine." "No, you can't. Because you weren't there. I was there. I watched my daughter die. I watched my granddaughter shatter. I watched Thatcher try to hold everything together while falling apart himself." Diana's voice cracked. "And now, barely 2 years later, you're here. Playing house. Acting like a family. Like Catherine never existed." "That's not fair," Imani said, her voice shaking. "I would never try to erase Catherine. She was Ava's mother. Thatcher's wife. She'll always be part of their story." "Will she? Or will you slowly replace her? New memories overwriting old ones? Until Ava forgets her mother's voice, her mother's laugh, everything that made Catherine who she was." The words hit like bullets. Each one finding a target Imani didn't know was vulnerable until it was bleeding. "I have nightmares about it," Diana continued, and now there were tears in her eyes too. "That Ava will grow up and forget. That this woman," she gestured at Imani, "this stranger will become Mom, and Catherine will just be someone in old photographs. A ghost." "Mrs. Whitmore." "Diana. And I'm not trying to be cruel, Ms. Brooks. But I need to know, are you prepared for what loving them means? Are you prepared to honor Catherine's memory while building your own relationship with them? Are you prepared for the guilt, the judgment, the complications of being a stepmother to a child who lost her mother too young?" Imani's hands were shaking. "I don't know. I want to say yes, but, honestly, I don't know if I'm strong enough for all of that." "Then maybe," Diana said gently, sadly, "you should walk away now. Before Ava gets more attached. Before this goes any further. Before everyone gets hurt worse than they already have been." The lunch ended shortly after. Imani barely remembered what else they talked about, what food she'd ordered, how she'd gotten to her car. All she could hear was Diana's voice. Maybe you should walk away now. All she could see was Catherine in photos around Thatcher's house. Beautiful, accomplished, perfect Catherine who'd been a surgeon and a mother and everything Imani wasn't. All she could feel was the crushing weight of trying to be enough for a man and a child who'd already lost so much. When Thatcher called that evening, asking how lunch went, Imani lied. It was fine. Diana and I had a good talk. Really? That's great. What did you talk about? Just getting to know each other. It's all good. But it wasn't good. Nothing was good. Because Diana had planted seeds of doubt that were already growing into weeds. Choking out the hope Imani had been nurturing. Making her question everything. That night, alone in her apartment, Imani looked at her life, her small, simple, safe life, and wondered if loving Thatcher Langford was the bravest thing she'd ever done or the biggest mistake. And she had no idea which answer scared her more. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional romance stories that'll make you believe in love again. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Imani should fight for this love, or is Diana right that it's too soon? Where are you watching from? I love hearing from you. To my amazing returning viewers, you're the best. Your support means everything. Part 2 coming soon, where the stakes get even higher and hearts will be truly tested. You won't want to miss what happens next. Until then, remember, love is always worth the risk. Always. Red Heart.